Those pesky screening units. All right, I'm still under the weather, so I can have surgery, but the surgery's not until March, so I gotta have stuff to do, right? So the stuff to do is going to be screening during the Yom Kippur War of 1973 out in the desert. I'm getting ready to set up one of the smaller scenarios here, but this is a made-up thing, as usual. I don't do a lot of playthroughs on camera. I do a lot of my stuff off the camera. That's how I work. All right, so... all right, what I did here is we have the Israelis trucking down this highway here, Talisman Highway, and the Egyptians have a screening unit. Now, these are defense lines. These have no bearing in the actual game itself. So you can ignore the red lines here. This is your SAM line. That comes in later. These are forts, etc. So we have a screening unit here. The Egyptians have cleverly set up a recon unit that's screening this area. And it's the screening zone goes out 3 hexes. And they're plugging up this area here. Every move side enemy unit that enters this 3 hex zone in here is going to pay an extra +1 movement point to try to get to where they're going. So if the Israelis are in a hurry, their movement's going to be clogged. They're going to have to pay extra movement points. It's going to take them extra time to get to where they're going. Now, of course, this is probably not going to happen in an actual game. No one's going to plant this recon unit right on a secondary road here. This is an optimal setup, but again, I just want to show you some of the things you can do to a recon unit. And I thought it was kind of cool, some of the things that they're vulnerable to. Now, the Egyptians, as you know, a recon unit can place an extra objective marker. Now, the Egyptians, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with this. It is about 11 o'clock at night. They could have been using this to say, put an objective marker down, like on a victory hex or something. Maybe they were using this, and the Israelis, they're like, look, we've had enough of this. We got to take this guy. We need to take out their forward observers, etc. So now there is a rule in Valley of Tears specifically that states let's see right here, recon unit types. It can't just give a name of a unit and say it's a rec. It has to have the actual eligibility according to the rulebook, which is 1.1F. So it's got to have the cavalry slash in it. So you got to go by the rulebook right there. You can't just look at the back. It'll say like, it might have a setup and say like, hey, this is the 101st Rec Battalion or something, but not have a slash in it. It needs to actually go by the rulebook here. So just keep that in mind for Valley of Tears. I also thought this was interesting. No supports for the Israeli ever, which forces you to play this version of BCS completely different. So it's almost like I have to like forget everything I just learned, sort of, just for the Israelis. So that's going to be weird. Only Arab units with support printed on their counter on one side or the other can ever be in support. So this is, I got to change some stuff here. I'm thinking about setting up Air Corps on the other side, other table, but I got to shift a few things around. Okay, so now about the screening, there's a few things about units that are in screen. You can put this on at the beginning of any activation. You can only do it during the first activation, not the second. And you can actually remove these at any time, even during an enemy activation, which is kind of weird. You can just remove it and then release the unit, and they can, it's kind of odd, I thought. I think you would want to do this because this is a light AV, and you'd want to exert a zone of control. So you could say, yeah, you know what? Drop the zone and let's give this guy his zone of control back. Because here's the thing. A unit in a screen does not have a zone of control. So that's going to come back to this point. So the Israelis in move mode are going to end up paying +1 movement point to get through this. So this has become a choke point. And here's, so you've got 2 hills right here on either side, and they've kind of got a choke point through there. So, it could be an inconvenience, but this is just an example, right? So maybe the Egyptians want this screen on here. That's something they want. But they do lose their ZOC. Now, there's a rule, of course, with stacking and moving. When you move, you're not allowed to move into an enemy hex, ever. There is one exception to this. One way to get rid of a screening unit and force them out of there is to have a deployed leg movement allowance unit. They can enter directly into a screening unit's hex, which I thought was pretty cool. These guys are dismounted, searching for the recon unit. If you have a unit here, you could just go bang, put the leg deployed side, leg MA in, and that would force the screening unit to retreat 3 hexes and shift the screen zone back, and then that would allow you to get your full movement back, or remove that movement restriction so that you can move your forces quicker through the choke point or something like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, you should take a look at 4.6a, Roman numeral 3. Retreating does not affect the unit's screen marking or cause a counter flip to occur. So he's pesky. He retreats, but he keeps the screen marking. It's going to shift that screen zone back. And screen units are pretty annoying to try to catch. Which, by the way, we should talk about how good this unit is. This dude's got 6 steps. All right, so just a quick little video on screens. So then this would shift. See, if he had to retreat 3, so it did pull it back a little bit. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3, yeah. So it did pull it back a little bit, taking care of freeing up this whole area so that the Israeli forces can now freely move up and down the highway. And this, say there was more stragglers back here, that would clear this up. And movement's very quick in this game, so if you watch other people's videos, you'll notice that they are just zipping all over the place. Anyway, there's a short that I put up. I'm going to put up, it's 60 seconds, kind of explaining the same thing, but I wanted to do a longer video discussing it. Going to set up this short scenario and take a whack at it. I'll maybe give some progress reports, depending on how I feel. All right, talk to y'all later.